Welcome back to Talking About the Taboo with you know who, Natalie Malloy. I love you guys. Hello. What is up? This is the podcast where everybody runs to that is on a mission with a curious mind, ready to hear about sex advice, ready to hear about relationship advice, and really willing to take that step forward and invest in your sex life and relationship life. And that's what I'm here for. Before we go further, though, I do want to put it out there. Please like, share, and subscribe at Talkin Clit-municate on Instagram and TikTok, and Talking About the Taboo on Facebook and Twitter. The Twitter is a little dry, I'm not going to lie, and I'm never going to call it X, so don't ask me to. LOL. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a beginner, we've got something for you, so stay tuned. So, what we're going to talk about today is our inner conflict. Have you ever found yourself possibly with your partner or with a friend even, and you're being so mean to them, you're almost like being a bully and you can't stop? It's like you literally cannot stop. You're making fun of them, you're putting them down, you're being mean to them, or you're outlashing, or you're screaming and your volume's too high, and there's so many different avenues I can take that down, but you're just being something that you don't see as being you, almost like you're outside of yourself doing it and you just can't stop. Well, that's what we're focusing on today, because a lot of the times we can find ourselves really, not understanding why or how we're acting this way. And so that's the exciting part about being here, is that I'm going to help you figure that out. I do the research for you, lovies. You know that. And today there was a lot to be researched. See, I'm not the be all end all. I don't know everything. So please stay tuned if you want to know about the parts of you a little bit more. Mwah. I don't think you're ready for this jelly. I don't think you're ready for this jelly. You guys aren't ready, but you're ready. What I just realized in this little setup that I have, there's an Easter egg, and I'm just going to give you a clue. It is where all of my things are set up on my desk right there. And if you are a psychology major, took psychology, or do anything to do, you look back at past history of types of exams, this is another clue that they did on people. There is an Easter egg in this, and it's hilarious. And if you understand it, please tell me in the comments if you know what it is. But yes, so today is about diving deeper into the parts of us that we may just not understand. And why am I talking about this on a sex and relationship podcast? Well, the answer is really easy. It is really easy. And it's the fact that everything that makes up you will also come out in another relationship. And it gets super complicated when you aren't handling the things that you need to handle. Sorry, guys, I'm just checking this mic. Why do I always have this issue? I really, Santa Claus, please bring me a new fucking microphone and camera and headphones. Thank you. Ew, that whining made me cringe a little bit. But yes, so in a relationship, a lot of the times, okay, we lash out and we're like, afterwards, whoa, like, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean that. And that's not for everybody. I mean, everybody has lash out times, but sometimes, at least for myself, it gets wild and I need to really understand why this is happening. I get so confused, like, what the heck? Like, why am I acting so mean when he's so nice to me? So that's why I wanted to really dive deeper into this. And obviously, I had to do a lot of research. So I've got my notepad ready. Let's dive in. So I want to talk about something called our inner conflict, right? So if you're a visual person, look at like a football goalpost, okay? We've got the left and the right, and there's that space in the middle. All the way here, okay, on the left side, we have maybe a bipolar disorder. Okay. Then we go all the way to the right side and we have a personality disorder. Then we're going to come right back into the middle of that goalpost, and That's where most of us lay, where our parts of self that we just don't understand are laying around. You kind of find your balance in between that goalpost. You may not be all the way to the left and all the way to the right or fully in the middle, but you have the parts of self that make up your personality, that make up your mood. So these parts of self are throughout your lifespan and your world that you are experiencing make up you. They make up you as the entire whole. So I took a training for cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot of the things I use today will actually be something that I took from that and kind of put my own little twist on it. But something that she did there was the vase theory. I know the camera is far away, and if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, you can't see. But right now, I'm holding a piece of paper that is a vase, an empty vase. And we're going to start at the bottom of the vase. So, the bottom of the vase is when you were a baby, when you were a child. Okay. Only filled up a little bit. Again, I know the camera's bad, but only filled up just a wee bit. Okay. And then we're going to move on to your teens. Above that, writing down teens. And now we have the vase filled up just a little bit more. And just looking at those two little tiny parts of the vase filled up, how much trauma and developing do you think is done here? A fuck ton. A fuck ton. From the moment you are born into your teens. So we've got preteens, okay? We've got baby, toddler, preteens, and teens right in the tiny parts of this. All that you think about you've experienced in your lifetime. And this is the beginning that a lot of the time gets messed up, gets misunderstood on how to handle or raise somebody. It's all your experience and how you reframe your mind to think about what happened. And that's cognitive behavioral therapy as a whole. But then we get into your 20s, a step up, 20s, 30s per se. You can experience more deaths in the family. You're going to get into your first real relationship and experience heartbreak, possibly. And maybe also you'll get a new job, but you'll hate it, aka where I'm at. But I'm learning to love it, guys, okay? And then we're going to move forward and we're going to look at your 40s and your 50s. Should have made these compartments bigger, but whatever, okay? Then your 40s and 50s, you're going through, I'm 23, you guys know this, but you're going through a lot of different things in your 40s and 50s. You're really developing into who you really are, and you're accepting who you really are. And you may be getting really big in your career and finally taking off and getting the results that you want, the results that you deserve. And your boyfriend passes away. You may have gotten raped in your past and you're trying to deal with it here, but you can't because you never dealt with it here in the bottom of the vase. And then you're going to move on to your 60s and 70s. You at this point are growing older. You're not old. You still got wild and free in you. Everyone does. But you're experiencing the loss of your friends, possibly. And you may be developing menopause if you're a woman. And sex may be getting so difficult. You may, be dealing with some dryness. I mean, I'm honestly, sex discomfort and stress is trauma sometimes because you're like, I want to build this connection, but I just can't because it's so painful. So you're going through all these changes. And soon that vase gets filled up to the brim. But what I recognize that this specific trainer did not mention was that how beautiful is it that we are able to grow flowers out of a vase that is so full of disgustingly saturated water we have not dealt with, but we still can grow flowers out of it. Some of the flowers may die because we get a little bit down, but we always are able to grow more flowers out of our vase, even though our whole childhood was filled with grief and regret and guilt and punishment and just bad things that could possibly happen to us, and the good things, all the good and the bad mixed together to make you. But we still can grow flowers and be that fucking awesome. I love you all. And you do this every day. Every single day, you grow flowers out of your vase. Every single day, if you have a job, you go to that job. Every single day, you have a bed, you wake up in it. If you don't have a bed, you wake up. You get up. You feed yourself if you can. That is amazing. That is remarkable. It is remarkable that all of us that are filled up with stress and trauma and triggers and all of this stuff that we have not been able to deal with or are trying to are still growing flowers is remarkable. And I just wanted to say that. So when we are dealing with that and really going back and trying to deal with our childhood and figure out like who we are and understand us, we may pick up some thoughts and behaviors that maybe just aren't correct for the circumstance. We may backlash. We may start screaming because we just don't know how to express that feeling, because when we were a kid, I wasn't allowed to say that. And if I didn't unload the dishwasher at that very exact time that my stepdad wanted me to unload the dishwasher, then I'm a failure. So that means now every single time that I'm supposed to do something, aka maybe this podcast, sometimes I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got to do it on this time, or I'm going to get, oh my God. And then I'm realizing like, oh my God, I got to go pick up the dog poop in the backyard, and I got to do it right after I get home because I can't relax until I do anything. Because when I was a kid, I could not relax before I did anything because I had to do the chores. So I'm now in my adult life, free-willed adult life. I feel like I'm forced to do something sometimes. And right now I'm working on reframing, which we'll talk about later, my thoughts on that. I'm working on, hey, if I want to sit down and drink a glass of wine when I get home and then do the dishes and then do the dog poop, I can, because I'm an adult. And just because in my childhood that's how they wanted to raise me does not mean that's how I want to raise the rest of me. Remember that. Listen to that. Just because that's how I was raised as a kid, that does not mean that is how I want to raise the rest of me. Because remember, outside of your parents and parent or guardians, you're a person for you. You got to teach you a lot of these things. So learn how to raise yourself too. And maybe don't repeat the same things that happened in your childhood that you just don't agree with. Keep that in mind. So I want to identify something called inner conflict. So inner conflict is not multiple personalities, but a sum of a unified whole. What do I mean by that? So you really look at your inner child. You got baby, toddler, teenager, and the evolving adult. Remember, the adult that you are now going to raise. And these individuals, meaning you, right? We're talking inner conflict. These conflicts hold sadness, they hold happiness, they hold unresolved memories, and they're only processed when they're ready to. So remember again, looking at the vase. If you're on Spotify, I'm holding up the vase. Okay, looking at this vase, you remember that. Oh my God, this happened in my childhood, and I'm now triggered. This reminds me of it. Oh, another thing I didn't work on. Let me journal it and talk about it with my therapist, or talk about it with my friend that's my therapist. LOL. We all have those. I don't have those because I'm the therapist, but I love you all that come here for therapy. I love it. Okay. So when we're looking at something called internal family systems, this is with Schwartz. He has 3 primary parts of self, and I love these names. All of this information, all of the research that I got will be linked below. If you want to read just a little bit more deeper into the parts of self, I focus on attention span, so I'm making it more fun for y'all. Okay. So yeah, internal family systems, and Schwartz talked about the 3 parts of self. The first one was exiles. So this is the younger parts of yourself that hold emotions and needs that went ignored and went to exile or put away because there was no space to process. Example, the vase. There was no space for you to process those. You have to make room, and one by one, just look at everything and reframe it and think about it differently and cognitively reframe it, aka cognitive behavioral therapy helps you do that. You're becoming your own therapist. The next one is managers. This keeps the person going and helps put exiles aside so we can function with life. It can be healthy and unhealthy because you are compartmentalizing the good, but perfectionism is the bad. You want to make sure, I don't want to think about that. No. Okay, let me put that in a really messy file that I haven't even looked at yet, and I'm just gonna push it over. No, 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 that's not okay. But when this manager is good, is like I did in therapy today, put all of my hurt, all of my pain inside of a beautiful perfume bottle, and I'm going to put it on my dresser. And I'm going to walk out of my room, and then I'm not going to touch it. That is healthy managers. Unhealthy is putting it in an unorganized space. You can't find it to go back to later. The third is firefighters. So the extreme version of managers. They act impulsively and engage from a desperation to make any pain go away. Example of this is disassociating. You are feeling some type of trigger, you're getting mad at your partner, and then he or she is trying to talk to you and you just black out. You disassociate. You can't respond. You can't answer. You really just can't be there with them to solve this because you just got triggered by your own self and you're thinking about all of your own actions and you can't even take accountability because you're overthinking it all. So the firefighters are impulsive. Sometimes our firefighters do really bad things like, I'm breaking up with you. That's it. Yeah, I'm walking out. They'll walk out, they leave, and they ignored their partner for days. And when I was younger, I used to do that. But now that I'm older and I decided that, I'm going to raise myself now. Now I can raise myself. Not to say that my mom didn't do a great job. I love my mom. But in my past, I had some crazy shit go on, okay? And not everybody's perfect. And now I choose how to raise myself. And that's that. And my firefighter got in the way a lot when I was a kid. But I'll say my manager is doing so much better. So much better. Like I said today in therapy, I used that beautiful perfume bottle and I put it away and I put it on my dresser and I'm only going to access it when I'm ready and when I can. And I'm going to take out those flowers and put them aside for a second and dig into that vase and maybe clear out some more water. We got some clean water. Have you ever seen the video of the wine glass full of red wine? And they put it underneath a faucet and let the faucet run in. All of a sudden the water turns clear, but it takes like at least a minute for it to fully go through. Well, your whole healing process doesn't happen in a minute, but the analogy of it is that healing happens over time. It doesn't completely go from black to white or whatever you want the analogy from red to clear. It doesn't immediately do that. It takes a lot of work. That water had to push it out and take it out and clean out the water. And eventually you can put that wine back in and drink it right up because you can. So that's the parts of self. We've got the exiles, the managers, and the firefighters. So when we are in this, it is very mainstream of all of us to be like, I got to diagnose. I feel like that's more of a US thing. Like we always like, okay, yeah, you have BPD. Oh, yep, you have bipolar. Yep, you're a narcissist. Oh, you're gaslighting. It's very mainstream for us to do that because we want to put everything in a category. But most of the time, those categories are the unorganized files that we all use our firefighters to be like push away or our managers to push away. That's we can't do that. We can't just compartmentalize things the way that we want to because, you have this one symptom. Yep, you got it. The new DSM does not. The DSM is how psychologists and counselors and therapists diagnose. Not how, but we look at it and what can or cannot, what the symptoms are, what the treatment is. Doesn't even want you to really fully diagnose because that diagnosis lives with you forever. If I was diagnosed with BPD, I would have that forever. And you can never bounce back from it. That's just what you have. It's on there, whatever it may be. You can always go to therapy for it, but that you have that. I have BPD tendencies. And this is something that really, really, you know, made me think like, huh, I need to research more of what bipolar and BPD is. My dad has bipolar and schizophrenia, which means that in my bloodline, it does run. And I'm at the age where the symptoms may appear a little bit more. Thankfully, I've been okay, but me and my therapist have been talking about the internal parts of self and kind of looking at my tendencies, and they do lean more towards BPD tendencies. Does that mean I diagnosed myself with BPD? No. Does that mean I use BPD as an excuse? No. I work on myself actively, as you guys see every week or every other week when I come on here and use this as my digital diary. I do it as much as I can for you, for me, for us. So that's why I want to dive a little bit deeper into BPD versus bipolar because we are looking at a, mood versus character. Mood, bipolar, character, personality disorder. And we look at this and we're like, huh, if I have that, do I have that? Don't do that when I'm doing this. I'm going to quickly define and essentially give examples of the groups and the different types and how it can play out, but don't self-diagnose yourself. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you understand more about maybe you lean on that goalpost a little bit more towards BPD. And maybe you lean towards the goalpost of bipolar disorder. But I'm not a therapist. I cannot diagnose you. I'm not a psychiatrist. I cannot prescribe medication to you. I cannot do any of that. But I can help you understand it. But I want to read a Reddit story. So stay tuned for that, please. Because these two Reddit stories I'm going to read go over a thought in my mind that I've had and also other people have had that kind of think like, do I have BPD? Will I have this forever? This first Reddit story is from subreddit Borderline Personality Disorder. It reads, does it really go away as you age? OP writes, I read that BPD often subsides as you grow older. It seems like I'm not the case because in the last 3 years or so, I've become incredibly vulnerable to the tiniest negative or what I believe is negative feedback from other people. Every minuscule mistake I make sends me into overdrive. I feel absolutely non functional and not worthy of life. I've been very emotional about criticism all my life, but it's becoming ridiculous. I'm 37, married, and have 2 kids. Why do I have to behave like a scared 4-year-old child every time I face any real life situation involving other people? I'm so tired of the emotions that fled me every minute of my life. Does this bloody thing ever go away? I love that. Does this bloody thing ever go away? I can't even talk in that accent. Does this bloody thing ever go away? That's Irish. I'm Irish. It makes sense. So this person is questioning their behavior at 37. They're like, why am I still here? I'm supposed to be out of here by now. Maybe this person, maybe OP just didn't dive into the vase yet. And you as a kid possibly may have gotten, questioned all the time of if whether you're good enough or not, or whether you can do this. So any type of, heavy situation that you feel like you can take control of, you step down because you're like, oh no, I can't do this. It's the end of the world. Oh, I can't fix this because you're constantly, caught up in the, oh, I can't because I was told I couldn't. The top comment here says, I'm 47 and only recently diagnosed. Mine seems to be escalating as I get older, but I'm assuming the fact that I've been misdiagnosed and untreated would add to that. I have my first appointment with a new therapist in about 2 weeks and getting DPD started. That is amazing. They're going to therapy, they're trying to figure out, and it's never too late to go to therapy to help those thoughts really, really, really go through. This comment continues by saying, I've become so self aware the past few years and have found that the more self aware I become, the more isolated I am, which of course is a trigger. So I'm trying to stay mindful of that and not let it take me down. I'm not so sure that it gets better as we age, but maybe we have better coping skills and self awareness as we age. Absolutely. That's not even a question. We are able to build more self-awareness and copeness. Remember what I said, it is my turn to raise myself. I was now raised a certain way. I went through all of these things and now I have to handle them and I have to dive in to that base. And this person also says that they isolate themselves a lot more, which is a trigger. Absolutely. Faced with self-awareness, a lot of the times when there's something called EMDR therapy, which is a trauma therapy that really dives deep into something and you have to re-explain it and really think about it in depth with picturesque, visual stimuli, and it's hard. And therapists deal with cancellations all the time because they're like, "Oh no, I can't get that self-aware now. You can't tell me that I have these deep traumas. I already know I've got these deep traumas, but you can't tell me that. No, 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 no." And then when you're like, for example, being upset with your partner, you're just going to continue to lash out at them because you can't be wrong. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. And maybe that subsides to, narcissism, and that's not mainstream talking. That's someone can actually have narcissistic tendencies, narcissism. And she also, or OP, commented back saying, "You seem to have a very adult attitude towards it all. Thanks for sharing your story. I agree that being misdiagnosed for many years makes it worse because you are sort of a try hard to get over your depression or any other separate symptom and fail because you're not addressing the core problem." Exactly. You're not addressing the core problem. If you're not diving deeper into your childhood trauma, teens trauma, or I feel like that word trauma is so overused, but it's just so potent, that word. So I have to use it. You know, those things that you go through, you have to deal with them one by one, like going down on dominoes, but actually the dominoes are going back up. So it's a reverse. And if as you're working on this stuff, you can experience more traumatic situations. For example, in therapy right now, I'm working on my grandmother's death. It's affecting me now, 2 years later, more so than it was affecting me back then. Because at the same time as my grandmother's death, I got a new job. I was stressed about that. I was getting out of a very, very toxic, physically abusive, at the end, therefore, relationship where we were both very toxic. And I learned that, holy crap, I got some shit to work on. And holy fuck, this man is insane. He cannot handle me. And I get it. I need to handle some of myself. So I got to check out. Holy crap. And I wasn't able to really cognitively reframe how I thought about my grandmother's death. And that is just now what we're starting. Right in therapy today. It's inside that perfume bottle, metaphorically. So I'm not gonna read any more on that Reddit story, but I am gonna look at another Reddit story. And this Reddit story talked about something interesting, a way that this person is thinking. This is some from subreddit BPD, but it's also a throwaway account. And they're asking the question, does anyone feel like a kid in an adult body? Hmm. This really intrigued me because yes, I have felt like this. OP writes, not just talking about not being ready feelings, but like that you're 11 years old being forced to handle adult situations and emotions. It's like being stuck at a young age in your head. Yes, because at some point, sometimes your brain just stops understanding it. You disassociate to a old part of you, and you're like, "Oh my god, this reminds me of when I was 11 and I was abused. This reminds me when I was 11 and I was raped." And this I can't now. I'm stuck in my 11-year-old body because I haven't even handled what's happened to me at 11 years old, and so now I'm a 23-year-old adult, and no, I can't handle this real life situation. I'm only 11. Because a lot of the times you are forced to grow up so fast. So you didn't even have time to grow up. So now at however old you are now just now growing up. So it's not unlikely that you are going to have thoughts of like, wow, it feels like I'm 11 years old. I can't do that all the time. Oh my god. My general upbringing was honestly not as bad as so many people's other upbringing has been. But we all have our own triggers, we all have our own traumas, and what we went through that doesn't lessen what I went through. But man, oh man, Do I feel like an imposter? You guys know that. I'm like, there's no way that I have a job. Oh no. Oh no. I can't wake up every day for a job. I'm only 10. I don't know what you're talking about. No, maybe I'm coming across in a comical way, but this post is pretty serious. Like, she feels like she's an 11-year-old body. I believe this is a she. Yeah, I believe this is a she. But because she can't get out of the trigger or the trauma in that part of her vase that she's just stuck on, trying to clear out. Top comment reads, I think most people with BPD have childhood trauma. Oftentimes that results in having to grow up too fast compared to your age. Oh my God. Yes, literally what I just said. I feel like since at least partly I didn't have a proper childhood and grew up so fast, now I find it hard to be an adult. It's like I'm not ready yet. Age regression is triggering in situations and also common in BPD. Maybe look it up to get more info or come to this podcast. And then another comment reads, I feel the same way. Adulting isn't just hard because adulting is hard. It's even harder because of having to grow up so fast, but still lacking certain skills and vital life lessons. I'm married, a mom with 2 kids, and sometimes it just hits me. Oh my God, I'm an adult. People depend on me. It could be overwhelming. My husband doesn't have trauma like I do, and he's just adjusted as an adult. I still struggle with adulting. That is so relatable. I don't know about for you guys, but at least for me, I really find myself like there's no way that I am an adult, that I have responsibilities and I have to pay these bills and how did this all happen? And it just went so fast. And what they said was age regression is so triggering. Like, wait, I didn't handle what happened to me when I was 9 yet. I can't be 23. I haven't learned everything that I need to know yet. And that's the beautiful thing about life though. You don't need to know everything. You won't know everything. There is no handbook for life and how to handle the situations that you just don't know how to handle. Sometimes you may feel like you're outside of yourself and you're like, "Wait, that wasn't me." And now you have to learn that lesson that like, "Oh, I can't say that to them. That's not nice." Because when I was a kid, when you were a kid, maybe no one ever told you that you can't act like that. And you when you watched your, guardians or your parents treat each other like shit, and then they go back to loving each other afterwards, you assume that everything can be horrible, but go back to beautiful and there be no communication in between. You are taught that, you learned that, you watched that. So it's not your fault that you now have these experiences, these behaviors, and maybe find yourself in a very childlike mindset because you're trying to be like, but when I was 9, I just wanted a freezy pop. I I didn't want you to sexualize that. Like this is stuff that really really happens, and we have to dive really really deep. And I want that for you, and that's why this podcast is here for you, to really dive deep and listen to it in your bedroom, listen to it on your car ride, and really just think like, "Oh shit, I might relate to this. Let me handle this. Let me file cabinet this. Let me grow some flowers out of beautiful water." Okay. So, like I said, those Reddit stories were kind of giving you a in on experiences that individuals are experiencing as someone with BPD and or bipolar disorder. So, I want to kind of look more into bipolar disorder with you guys and personality disorder. And this is going to give you a real snapshot, right, of our parts of self when we're diagnosed with a personality or mood disorder. So this required a lot of research as well. So stay with me, okay? Okay. So we've got personality disorder and bipolar disorder, 1, 2, or cyclomic. So we kind of go between one and two. So personality disorder is defined by long-standing patterns of abrupt moment-to-moment swings in moods, relationships, self-image, or behavior triggered by conflict in interactions with others. Bipolar is defined as extreme mood swings that include manic episodes where they're intense and the happiness and energy or sadness can be intense, any type of emotion becomes very intense. And so in bipolar, there's manic depression, which is one manic episode, and two slightly less severe but swings between manic and depression. So cyclomic. It's a cycle. Awesome, 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 kind of sad, and asshole goes back. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So it is absolutely something that can be very confusing because you're this person's acting like this and then they're really 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 bad here, but then they end up being really really much better, and it's a hard thing to live with and work with and understand, especially if you aren't the one experiencing, it's your partner, and now you're trying to understand another person's mind, and that's a whole nother platform. My lord, trying to understand another person's mindset is really difficult, but education is the first step. So if you are trying to do that, you're at the right place. So again, still staying with bipolar disorder, which is a mood disorder. Okay. You have depressive episodes with intense periods of sadness, hopelessness, and very minimal activity. You could be hypomanic, which is less severe but not a significant impairment. And then you can have mixed, which is manic slash depressive. So you go from being like on top of the world, I'm the best person here, I've got this, my business is booming, I'm amazing, and then you go back into the depressive where I'm worthless, I need to die, I can't handle this, my business is a piece of shit, and you just keep going. You can't regulate it. We all have, those moments where we just can't regulate. But this is a disorder where you are diagnosed and you literally cannot regulate it. People have to go on medications for this. And then we have the personality disorder, right? And there is different groups. So there's group A, which is consistently dysfunctional patterns of thinking and behavior. This reflects lack of interaction in others. So there's one paranoid personality disorder where you lack trust, you doubt loyalty, you're very angry or hostile from apparent insults. See, that again, we don't want to self-diagnose ourselves, but possibly somebody who's just making like a funny like joke or something, and to them it's not a joke and they're acting like extreme, like they're extreme, like excuse me, like just completely changing out of their character. Okay, that is the paranoid personality disorder. And then we have schizoid personality disorder where they're cold towards others, they're limited in expressed emotions, and they also choose more to be alone. Still in group A, we have schizotypical personality, which is that magical thinking, like that that person, the president is out to get me, and also the vice president wants to date me, but I didn't want to date the vice president, so he's trying to kill me, so I had to get in my car and move to a different state to protect myself. That the magical thinking, really outwardly thinking, um and they feel or think strange, and they also hear voices. So that gets more into like I said, the schizophrenia part of it. So there's that the schizoid personality disorder. These voices can tell them plenty of things, whether it be like you're a worthless piece of shit, or you really need to like kill yourself, and then they'll tell you like how to do it, and it's so scary. And this is just from me, really listening. What was that in my throat? LOL. From me listening to other people's stories. And also, you do know that my dad has schizophrenia and bipolar. So these two mixed together um, is scary. And from the stories my mom told me as a kid, it was really scary. And um, this is just something that my dad is dealing with, and he's heavily medicated. And it just happens. It just is what it is. And we're working to better my dad, and I hope for the best for him every single day. Then we have, for the personality disorder, we have group B, which is overly emotional thinking and very unpredictable. So that's where BPD falls under. Strong fear of being alone or abandoned, deep unstable relationships, and ongoing emptiness. That's just a little tiny piece of the feather that you pull off, because BPD is so deep. There is this specific TikToker on TikTok that specifically talks about BPD and her experience with BPD. I will mention her in the description down below, because She really goes live and just speaks about what she's going through and all of the trials and tribulations when it comes to relationships and bipolar disorder and relationships as in friendships or romantic. And she really is very vulnerable on there and goes through her experience. And if you do have any of these symptoms, maybe you can relate to her. The second is histrionic. They seek attention, they're shallow with shallow emotions, and they change very quickly. The third is narcissistic. This is kind of and with itself, right? Narcissistic behavior, very full of themselves, cannot take accountability, cannot stand vulnerability. And four, there's antisocial, that's within itself. There's group C, which we got avoidant, dependent, and obsessive compulsive disorder. So all of these are grouped together under a character disorder, which is personality, versus a mood disorder. Then we have the parts of self that I talked about earlier. We may have that part of ourselves that is super amazing and on top of our game. And so we label, that person as the successful person. So I have a part of myself where I see in a very sexy, low cut, red pantsuit on a TED Talk talking all about sex and all about relationships. And I know my shit. I'm on top of my game. I got heels on. I got red bottom heels on. I am sexy and educated. And I love that. Then I have a part of myself that I see, and sometimes when I'm fighting with my boyfriend and I'm like, ew, she's ugly. Like she is labeled as like a troll, honestly, because there ain't no way you're coming in here and trolling my relationship. Get out of here, you trolls. I need a moderator up in here. Okay. And the moderator is my part of self that has morals. Okay. And really goes, Natalie, this is you being triggered by something that you haven't figured out for yourself. It has nothing to do with your boyfriend. Really look deeper. Please go apologize. And in my past, there was no moderator. This moderator was based off of my own doing, by the way. So clap, clap, clap for me. And this moderator now can take accountability. This moderator sees that I've done things in the past that just really hurt him. And I still have done things now that really hurt him. But our relationship is something that I want to work on. It's not something that I feel like I have to work on. I want it. I want this to work out. I want myself to get better. I want to become more self-aware and teach my moderator that there's other coping mechanisms other than screaming and lashing out and belittling other people. Of course, I still, bounce back sometimes, but I'm able to still find myself in a time where, wow, I just took accountability. And just the other day, my boyfriend told me that we've been together for like a year now. I'm like, no, it's been about 9 months. We've known each other for 10 years, but we've been back together for 9 months. And he told me that he was really looking over like all of these things that we've done and all these events. And in the past, every time we went to an event or a party, there would always be an argument. I would like ruin it by being angry about something and not talk to him for days. And he's like, and I just look at times like this. We were at a festival out in near where my sister lives, and he's like, and I look at days like this where like, wow, we really had a good time. We had really good conversations and we did not fight. And amongst our little spats, I didn't feel like that you were mad at me or anything. I look at when we go off and do fun things this past 9 months, we've really just had a good time. And you know how great that made me feel? That made me realize that I finally made progress. I finally seen the progress and got validated from my boyfriend that I'm doing this for and for myself, but also for him, for us, that it's working. Of course, I got so much shit to do, guys, but that water in that vase is becoming to be a lot more clear. I just said in therapy today that he's helping heal an inner part of my child that I didn't know that needed to be healed. And as cliche, like I say all the time as that sounds, it's so true. It's so I'm so blessed. And this is work that you guys can do for yourself too. Okay. You also can look and work on, the deeper parts of you and understand why you may act the way that you do. So, I want to bring you guys back and, look at that container that maybe, this episode brought up some things from your past, and grab a container, whatever you want to design it as. I've got my perfume bottle. Open that perfume bottle. Right. I'm going to show you if you're on YouTube. Take that top off. Put all of it inside of that beautiful perfume bottle, whatever container you use. Close it up and put it on a safe space where you can return to later on. Our minds can get really fuzzy and matted. We got to groom them, okay? We got to make sure that they're well, okay? Your brain is like skincare or like taking care of your vulva, as I talk about all the time. It is so important. Like, it is absolutely crucial. Okay? Please take the time to understand you and the inner parts of yourself. And if you do have the time or the resources, please go to therapy because it helps so much. Now, that's not the end, guys, though, because we got the sex toy of the week. So stay tuned for the sex toy of the week. You hear that? You hear that thrusting dildo? Let me move it closer. It's going up and down, guys. If you are on Spotify, you need to come to YouTube right now. You need to see this shit. It's just going to Pound Town. It is going to Pound Town. This has got to be, I say this about every single one of the toys, the most fun and most realistic toy that I have ever reviewed, okay? This is called the Rabbit Thrusting G-Spot. And it is amazing. It is soft. It is so soft. It's got realistic veins on it. It also has a little rabbit that comes off of the shaft of the penis that also is able to stimulate your clit. And this was amazing. Okay, if you're not working with a partner here and this is all you got to get a quick, G, like orgasm, OG, oh my god, it's perfect. Oh my god. And if you want to do a little spiciness and use it while you're having sex with your partner, and while they're making out with you, you can use this on you, or you can suck it while you're fucking you, so you got that dual action there. Oh my god, it's to die for. Seriously, it's very realistic. And it, like I said, the thrust and the veins together are just beautiful. I've had dildos where they're just uncomfortable, they're too rough. The It's just unrealistic and I don't like it. As for the rabbit on the clit, it's super hard for me to like do both, like have both the, vag and the clit stimulated at the same time. I can't. I don't know why. I just like I literally can't focus on either of them. So the vibration on this does allow you to just have the vibration on the top. But if you're a person who does vag and clit at the same time, this is like going to be your literal womanizer. Oh, well, there's a toy named the womanizer, but like this is my version of the womanizer because holy fucking shit. It is amazing. It comes in this cute little gray velvet bag. And this one even came with lube, traveling lube. How amazing. It's called Spice for Life. This is like an emergency lube because I have my own lube, as you guys know in the previous episodes, recommended to me by a friend. Yeah. That's the sex toy of the week, and that is talking about the taboo. Thank you so much for coming today and listening and being vulnerable with me today. This is my digital diary. Please come back next week because I will be having a guest and the topic is juicy and I'm really excited. Until then, with lots and lots of lube, clit-municate.